Hey everybody, welcome to the Pink Riot Comic Show where we talk all things comics, movies, and pop culture written by black and brown folks. I am Keisha, aka Hot Havoc, and here I have my amazingly, brilliantly talented co-host Bree. How you doing, babe?
I am doing great. It's been a crazy week, but I'm very excited because we have some awesome guests in the building today. It's another double whammy guest day, so my
Yeah.
energy is always up on those types of days. How are you, babes?
Today was a lot, but it's been all right. So I won't complain.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Wait, are
Yeah.
you like snowed in or whatever? Because I keep seeing stuff about snow and
It's Massachusetts. It's always snow. It snowed last night. Nobody knew. We still have like 3 feet of snow. I'm
crazy.
over it. The chickens are alive though, so that's good.
That's the main. As long as, but nobody died. That's the main thing.
Basically. That's all I
That's
care about right
totally
now.
fair.
They're alive.
Yeah.
Oh
Period.
my goodness.
I see you rocking your
Yeah.
Pink Riot merch.
Yes, I am. And I
Y'all
got
see
some
the
more on the
merch.
way.
Run and go
Yes,
cop the
yes.
merch.
If you guys can hear it, I got mine in pink because we're gonna have we gotta rock the brand colors. But I did get some stuff. No, I was gonna say it as if it was gonna be super colorful. I got it in black.
I knew that. Y'all, the way that we literally were like, yeah, we got to promote the merch. We're going to make sure we try to wear the merch more often. And Keisha was like, yeah, I got pink and black. And I was like, all right, bet we do have other colors. So
We
I'm
do.
going to get the other colors to try to like make sure. So I got like teal and purple and yellow. I got pink too, but I'm like,
See,
yeah.
my wardrobe is mostly black, white with pops of color, and I
So
wish I could deviate. My mind won't let me.
between the two, as long as between the two of us, we like can show y'all the range of colors or whatever. That's just
That part.
prime real estate. If you want Pink Riot to post you, cop the merch in a color other than pink and black, and you automatically about to be on the feed for sure. What's
Oh
up,
man.
y'all? Hey,
Hey
Brave.
everybody. Rachel.
Hey, LT. TLC in the house.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Clever.
Bookie. We out here. You know what I'm
Right? The
saying?
braids looks like we're about to go on vacation soon.
And are
Only time we get those kind of braids. We
no,
going
it's
on
not.
vacation.
I just these braids come out whenever I be like, you know what? Who wants to do their hair? Not me. But especially on vacation, yeah. Me and my minion are going for sunny skies and clear water.
Oh,
Because
it's cruise
I hate
time.
I hate to see it, but I love to see it because I'm like, when we were little, we didn't get President's Week off. We got President's Day, and that's it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, no, that was a thing in New York. We called it winter break. But like we got a week off in February.
That's crazy work. We did not get that. So, anyways, I'm grateful for it now because that means we're gonna take that trip. So yeah, you guys
Mhm.
will be seeing the digs for
Mm,
next week's show. But this week we have some amazing people joining us today. As you
yeah.
guys know, we started off this year strong, wanting to celebrate Black people in comics in another way. And one of the major um, imprints that we were excited to partner with was Megascope via Abrams Comics Art.
Yeah.
And they, we love them, so they love us back. So we were like, how can we tell more people about these awesome books and get them in their hands and share about them, and also like secretly meet these people that we have in the highest esteem?
Right.
Let's have them on the show. So this week we have a double whammy of Megascope title creators in the studio tonight. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, so I guess we should just introduce them because it's been
Yeah.
about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So first up, let me bring this book out. First up, we have the writer and artist for Hardears. We have, let's see if I can do this, do two things at once. We have Matthew Clarke and Nigel Lynch. Hey guys, how y'all doing?
I'm pretty good, pretty
Hey,
good.
hey, good night. Good night, everyone.
Hey. Oh, this is so cool. Thank you
Yes.
guys so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, all the vibes. Hold on, let me switch up the steez a little bit over here. How do
What are
I
we
do
doing?
this? I want to switch it up so where you got like vertical situations happening because it looks kind of weird. But yeah, we are so excited to have you to chat about Hardears. When I tell you that my introduction to this book was so crazy, it was literally like I don't know what that is, but it looks black and it looks amazing. So I'm going to check it out. And then I literally did like a little flip through and I was like, immediately, yes, this is going in the cart right now. And then actually getting to read it and experience it, I was like, wow. When I tell you, this is another title that I've gifted to people several times just because I'm like, you would really enjoy the vibes of this.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
have you guys on the show
Thank
is
you.
just really cool.
Yes, yes.
So
So
one thing
typically,
that sorry, go ahead, babes.
I was gonna. All right. So typically, what we do is we always ask everybody that comes in through Pink Riot, what was your introduction to comics, and then how did you end up writing or drawing for comics?
So yes, what is
So
your comic book origin story? Like what
yeah.
got you into reading comics and then what got you into making comics?
If you
And I'm
want to
gonna
go
pick
first?
on you first, Nigel.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So my introduction to reading comics started at 4 years old, around that sort of time. I wasn't necessarily reading comics, but I was looking at comics. I was fascinated by comics. Here in the Caribbean, back then, comic books were just as influential as cartoons, any other form of entertainment. And was this something you saw at school? So the very first comic book I ever had was a Spider-Man where he was versus Speed Demon, and I could always remember it because a bit dyslexic. So I remember reading the book forwards and backwards, and it didn't make a difference. I just enjoyed the book.
Period.
And I was just enamored with it. I love the art, I love the colors, everything. And comic books for me kind of came in and out of my life. They kind of phased in and phased out. So there was a period where you had books. Then when I became a teenager, I kind of bought books and started to collect books, had a collection and that kind of stuff. And I was into Marvel. I didn't follow much DC. We used to buy them from the supermarket, trade them at schools, just kind of friends would have books, that kind of stuff. And I was very much into the more action-oriented books. So I read a lot of Hulk, Punisher, that kind of stuff. And the difference with when I listen to the people who talk about comics in the North American culture, we in the Caribbean, we didn't collect on the same level in terms of we didn't take that sort of care. So when I was collecting books, we didn't have long boxes and sleeves and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You just bought the books, put them in a shoebox, and you let them out. Your friends kind of destroy them. Your little brother mashed them up, that kind of stuff. So I kind of lost my collection that way, where I lent them to a friend, and when he handed it back, it was like a bag of garbage. It was like, and I just kind of, they destroyed all my books. And I just kind of just phased away from it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time I came back in was when my son was like 3 years old. I wanted to get him into books. And I kind of went back to the comic book store. And this was around the time of Civil War and the Ultimate Universe, and not being a part of knowing any of this stuff. I was like, this was like foreign to me because, it was kind of weird getting back in and somebody trying to tell me, there's another universe and it started back over and this is this and he, but That was just part of it. But
Yeah.
from school, I always wanted to make comic books. I actually did art in school, and I actually, if there was anything about comic books that I thought I would have been a part of, it would have been from the artistic standpoint. I hated English. I didn't write. I didn't do anything to do with writing. And what got me into writing was I started to realize that the being able to tell a story and getting that story out would be something that could be done in comic book form.
Mm.
So I started to do it, and it was very, very, very difficult to, because as I said, I didn't have a writing background. Literally, I didn't write, didn't put pen to paper, I didn't type, that kind of stuff. My handwriting was atrocious. So comic books kind of got me through a lot of that. It kind of, I would say that my knowledge and stuff kind of really elevated from that, because as I said, in school, being dyslexic, I kind of shifted away from anything to do with writing, that kind of stuff. And my job was hands-on. So and I still liked art. So I kind of got into architecture. So I didn't have to do any kind of notation in my job. So that's how I met Matthew when we started to do comic books. I actually met Matthew the day that I decided I'm going to take that step and write my first comic book. And
Nice.
yeah, that's how I met Matthew. Matthew was a student at the local community college. I'm sure he's going to tell you this side of the story. and since then, for the last maybe 20 or so years, I've been producing comic books.
That is so cool. I love that you shared the piece about your journey with dyslexia, and I love that it was coming from a place of I'm just going to play to my strengths. I'm going to own what I know about myself and play to my strength, and it's not going to stop me from doing anything that I want to do. I love that energy. And I love that what you said about reading the comic, the Spider-Man comic that introduced you back to front. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm consuming the story and it's going to be a different experience however you decide to read it. I love that it gives you that difference in perspective as a creator, because it makes it that much more accessible for anybody else who might have, a similar experience reading a story. Like, I know what it's like being told you have to consume it in this way. So imagine somebody approaching it from a different direction where you can like take the whole thing in as one and still get the same vibes without it having to follow any typical construction norms. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. Just to say, John is in the Instagram chat, and first of all, we're talking about John Jennings, who's the curator for Megascope,
What
and
up?
he is saying,
Hey, John. Good night.
right? He's saying, hey, they're the best, love them.
Period.
And then Mikey Makes Comics is yelling Nigel and Matthew.
Hey, Mikey.
Period. All the love in the chat.
Right. I do want to say I love your reintroduction into comics, because that was very similar for me. Like, I got back into it because I wanted to, get my kids into it and stuff like that. So like, that is amazing. I love that we're giving it to the younger generations as well. Like, yes. What about you, Matthew?
Hi. Well, I started reading comics from a very young age as well. So I grew up in a household that was very involved in art. My mother was an art teacher, and she's also a fine artist. So art was just standard for me. I'd be stepping over paints and canvases. And in order to get me to read, she would get me comic books.
Period.
Because, I would sit down the whole day, read them. So I started with like Marvel, DC, the standard mainstream North American comics. But when I was like 10 or 14, in one of the local supermarkets, they started to bring in these comics from the UK and 2000 AD. So there was like Judge Dredd, and there was this other comic called Sling, and these were very different. They were a little bit more mature. These stories were a little bit more edgy. They were different. They weren't always like superhero themed. Um, Probably wasn't for kids. I probably shouldn't have been reading them, but but they were exciting, and it was like, wow, there's so many possibilities to what a comic book can be. The art styles were also different. Some of them were like more painterly. Um, so when I went to what we would call secondary school, which is from like 11 years old and up, I started to try my hand at creating my own comics. And I would buy like these little blank notebooks from the school bookstore, and I would like draw entire comics in them. And I was doing that all the way up to when I went to college, and I did my associate and bachelor degree in graphic design.
Period.
And I actually, that's how I met Nigel. I was graduating, and my major project was a comic book, and he took all my savings and he printed all these comic books. I wasn't even sure if I would get them, so I was in this supermarket. We had like a booth set up, and by chance, Nigel was passing through. His son at the time, who's a big man now, was like in a pram, and we exchanged like business cards, and we started playing PlayStation online because we were both into like first person shooters.
Nice.
And he was telling me about this story he had. It was a story about these mercenaries, and we kind of sketched that out and did like a demo. And then we ended up doing another book first, a crime drama, which was pretty exciting. And then, funny enough, that book has now the first book that we didn't complete. That's now become part of what he's coined the Nigel verse. Dirty Stray Dogs is like a sci-fi series. So we started doing comics together, and then we co-founded this company, Nigel, myself, Delvin Howell, called Beyond Publishing Caribbean. And from that was birth Hardears, one of these series. We had co-wrote that with Nigel and illustrated. So and that's kind of like a warp drive version of the journey.
Nice.
A summary.
I do have a question. Do you have any of the comics you made as a kid?
I still do. I like Nigel. I would never like lend out comics because I know people would destroy them and you would get them without the covers. So I was always like, I would always like have my own copies. If I was ever trading, I would have to have like 2 copies. But no, I never would lend out my comics. So I still have my childhood collection, and I still have some of the books from a lot of the books actually from that era. And I also have Nigel. I still have that first Dirty Stray Dogs file on my computer.
Nice.
Yeah, so I tend to collect my stuff a lot.
It turns you into a hoarder.
Yes.
Yeah. I always buy 2 of anything I want to share and want to keep. So, no,
but if it's organized, it's okay. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think I'm that good at organizing, but I know I have the stuff like in those plastic containers.
Mm-hmm. Keisha's over here throwing shade because she knows my collection is super disorganized. But
that wasn't shade. I was just saying mine's is very organized, so I feel comfortable living in all of
mine's
this.
is very organized. Mine are safe. They are bagged and boarded and in short boxes.
And that's organized.
Can I tell you exactly where and which box? No. It's all vibes.
You're on the path, and that's okay.
Yeah, we're getting better with our life decisions. But one thing that I love about both of your like introduction to comics / collecting origins is that part of your like experience was rooted in trading. So like I knew about comics and was introduced to them and all of that, but I wasn't like collecting them in that way. and there wasn't people around me to trade them like that when I first started. And now I'm so persnickety about my books, I would never be like trading. But I bet that was like really
But it's a
fun
different thing.
to,
It
to
was a
vibe with
different
your
thing.
friends.
We're talking. I'm a child of the '80s, so it's from. Have you ever heard people talk about how the Japanese consume manga, where they would read it and leave it on the train? That's how it was when I was going to school. You'd come to school and a comic book would be just there on the bench. You'd read it. Someone would come and read it over your shoulder, and they would say, "This is yours." It was like, "Nah." It's like a bar. Yep. And they would. And what was interesting is that someone would have a book, and they would take it home. They'd bring it back. Somebody else would take it home. They'd bring it back, and then eventually, whoever had it last would just kind of just keep it, and that was just it. You know what I mean? It was a time when you read a book and you didn't read it in any order. So you'd read book 6, then you may get book 4. So it was like you never knew when you was going to run into to finish that story that you read a year ago, you know what I mean, or a month ago, or that kind of stuff. It was a kind of almost ageless, timeless kind of thing. So we also got a lot of books from the 70s. And it would be still new. So to us, when we got a book, it didn't matter what time period it was from. We just kind of just consumed that stuff. Just a different culture and a different environment that we were in here in the Caribbean.
It sounds
I'm
better
jealous.
though. Like,
Yeah,
right?
I'm jealous.
The type of community that can come from that.
Yeah, there was no one that I would say when I was growing up that didn't read comic books in some form. They didn't read all the same type. So you had girls who tend to read the Archie comic books. You had someone would read a different Dick Tracy or something. So because the first person who actually bought me my first comic book was my father. He actually just came home a day and he said, "I bought this for you." And I remember just opening it on the bed and it was Spider-Man and he was just reading it. You know what I mean? So it was kind of more ingrained, and that's something that's a little different now. They're not. It's more of a specialty thing here. Like all over is a specialty niche versus back then it was a part of the society. Everybody just read a comic book.
I'm so jealous that I didn't get to like have the vibes with the homies. Like I feel like that would be such the easy way to make friends as a kid or a young person. Just like, what you reading? Like what you mentioned about, oh, I'm gonna read this over your shoulder on the train. That's instant vibes. Like, oh, how did you meet them? He had the new Spider-Man. We're gonna go do this now. Like, I wish it was like that now, low key. That's awesome.
But you remember, Nigel, you would actually get in trouble in school for bringing school comic, but so it was almost like contraband.
Yeah, because you would read them in the class. The children be in the back with their book open.
You kind of hide it in the desk.
You'd be reading. So what are you reading? Are you reading a comic book underneath your desk? Because it was that people read a lot of comic books.
I love that. Okay, so LT in the chat said, I'd love to hear about how Nigel and Matthew infuse Caribbean culture into their comic books. So like you guys are talking about this difference in culture and experiencing and reading it. So is that something that you took to the drawing table when you decided to collaborate? Like we want to recreate this or introduce these aspects of our, childhood experience and introduction to comics.
So each of us have a different way of doing things. We have a different ideology or mentality kind of. But what I would say is we do put the Caribbean books. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's a little bit more heavy-handed. So something like Hardears, the focus was on Caribbean culture and folklore. So I noticed when you introduce it and in the beginning, both of us wrote Hardears. It's actually Matthew's idea. So I am the co-writer on Hardears. Matthew's brainchild. And the interesting thing was, at the time, I had written a crime drama, which was hyper violent, hyper energy, hyper. It was basically almost like a Caribbean version of The Wire. It was that
Okay.
kind of raw. Right. So I was kind of in that mode. I wanted to do something that was gritty. I wanted to do something that was raw. And
Sounds awesome.
yeah, Matthew came to me and he said, I have an idea for a book that I want to do. It's about it's gonna have, and he explained the world with the minibuses and the folklore and stuff. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. But I didn't want to write it. I didn't
I had to harass Nigel
yeah, yeah, well,
to get him sold on this idea.
but what it did was, by taking that chance with Hardears, it actually taught me that I could write anything or I could be a part of anything. You know what I mean? Take that chance. And because of doing that, it opened me up to writing so many things outside of my wheelhouse. I turned a stage play into a comic book. I wrote books for the U.S. Embassy on domestic abuse, human trafficking, and stuff like that. So it made me step out of me saying, well, I only want to write this kind of stuff.
Right.
But I can write anything. So it is Matthew's. So he's the best. Let Matthew tell you about how Hardears came about and the Caribbean culture, because that is something that is, he's a history buff. He's into that kind of stuff. So he's the best person that will tell you all about that.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see Keisha's face light up, because that's her bag as well.
I love that.
Yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
Well, basically, the genesis of the idea was I was watching some carnival celebration. So our carnival is called Crop in Barbados. It's an annual street parade, and it is basically a harvest festival celebrating the end of the sugarcane harvest on the island. And it's a major tourist attraction. Now people from all over the world come to partake. Y'all should come to Cropover as a summer festival.
Listen, say less. Say less.
And in looking at the festival, they said, well, there's a pantheon of folk characters and a lot of intangible cultural heritage here. And I wonder, how can they preserve this? Artists, I use the comic book medium, and he started to craft this idea for a world and a story that actually was loosely based on my experiences in advertising. Because I usually like to input a personal touch into the story, and the advertising industry sometimes can be very exploitive. It could be stressful, etc. And I started to use the analog of the sugar harvest here and the Cropover festival as kind of like the backdrop for this story that is based on exploitation, liberation, as well as overcoming hardships. And we in the Caribbean are no stranger to catastrophic events in the form of hurricanes. So every year you have storm season, which could get pretty serious. And fortunately in Barbados, we're in this sort of location where the storms tend to miss us, but every now and again we get these brushes, and it can be pretty devastating. And it's a weird experience because you're on a small island, and oftentimes there's nowhere to run. So it's almost like you have this paranoia, and you have this feeling of impending danger, and I wanted to weave that into the story. And I also wanted to explore some of these folk characters that they're mentioned again during the Cropover festival and year round, but they're not really documented. So I thought that this piece would not only honor them, but also act as almost like a documentation that younger people could read. Just like when I was a kid, I learned a lot about different cultures through international comics, because I would read Tauntaun I would read some UK comics. I would read American comics. But even in the characters of X-Men, that's a fairly diverse cast. You
Mhm.
tend to pick up on
Mhm.
stuff, and then you go and well, we didn't have Wikipedia and stuff at that time. You had to go and get a
Yeah.
dictionary or go in the library, right? Because
Right.
I'm talking like in the early '90s. So my childhood of comics was in the '90s, and
Mm.
we were big into like trading cards and all that sort of stuff. So I really wanted to recreate that for some Caribbean child their imagination, but with characters that look like them, that
Yeah.
they could relate to, and hopefully inspire them to create other great stuff. And you know, plant that creative seed.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yes, because not enough people, I guess, respect, acknowledge the fact that there's so much you learn through fiction. Like
Yeah.
you learn so much about culture, you learn about history, you learn about how society operates through fiction, and to like be able to like keep that as an intentional, you know, mindset while working through this is just wonderful. Like, I don't know if everybody can see. I think this is one of the panels where you were talking about like the storm that's happening
Yeah.
in it.
Yes.
Oh
So
man.
that's post
Yeah.
destruction.
Yeah.
And basically, if you've ever been through one of these storms, it is literally like that. They can flatten everything. It's quite devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very impactful for me reading the parts where the hurricanes or storms were personified, because I remember like when I was in high school, I used to live in Texas, and that was when like Katrina and Ike and all those things came, and it wasn't to any measure of the scale that, islands experience it, but it was devastating enough experiencing it in that way. So I'm like, wow, it really just kind of put it into like a different type of context for me, like what that must feel like, growing up your whole life and experiencing like the little piece that I had, like on 100,000 trillion times worse scale, and then just envisioning it in that way, like, because they name these storms the dumbest names. And you're just like, wow, I don't know if it's the same way for you guys, but like, if I meet somebody named Katrina, I'm like,
Mm.
and that's no
I
fault
can
of
speak.
theirs.
I can speak for both me and Matthew. We've had hurricanes named after us. So
Mm,
I
yeah.
so there was a Matthew just the other day, and when I was growing up, it was an Allen.
Oh,
So yeah, so it's funny that they do name the hurricanes, and
yeah.
it's an interesting thing where the the personification of it was to also give them character,
Hmm.
and to give it that kind of whimsical kind of like folklore kind of sense. Like magic is our pantheon, is our us doing our fantasy kind of thing, and
Yeah.
something that you said you learn a lot from fiction, and I find that other cultures do it, but we don't tend to do it as black people or black cultures. We don't tend to mix our history and folklore and just kind of play with it. I think sometimes it's maybe because we don't know enough of our history, so we think we're diluting it. But if you look at Japanese culture, they mix up their stuff. Half of that stuff is fantasy,
Yeah.
somewhat legend. It's not. You got to take a lot of stuff with a grain of salt. Knights and European history, you got to take that stuff with. But we don't tend to embellish and play with our history and pass it on in a way that people kind of get excited for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you'll
Mm.
want to learn more about it. And that's something that we in my philosophy of writing comics, I try not to spell out everything.
Yeah.
So I will give you enough information that you can understand the story, but enough to that if you're interested, you'd go and look it up.
Yeah.
That's the idea. And if it is a case where I think looking it up may be a bit difficult, we'll put a glossary, or we'll put it somewhere. So we'll give you that information. And that's what we kind of did with Hardears. So we kind of made sure we kind of put a lot of the characters that we have in the book, we put them into the glossary at the front.
Yes. Oh, that was one of my
that was
favorite.
helpful.
Like, that was an excellent way to immediately immerse people in like the layers of like the lore of your story in a like engaging way, a fun way, because there was like where there. So for context, guys, the first, I'm trying not to lose my page because I got to show you guys my favorite panels. But yeah, in the very front, like first few pages, you're getting a description of the different types of characters and what they do and what they represent in this universe. And there's like little quips that are kind of hilarious because it's telling you like what they naturally do, and it's explaining to you like the magic system. Like I have to say that was one of my absolute favorite things about this book, that part of the magic system or the edification system is based on vibes. I was like, why does nobody else do this? This makes so much sense to give us a power system that's based on like good vibes to bad vibes as a spectrum and how they're activated with different types of beings. I was like, where has this been all my life? So y'all got a 11 out of 10 in terms of creativity for magic system for me, and that's an immediate way for me to be like, give me more, give me 10 of them, because it was so cool. I love that. Could you guys speak to like what inspired you to utilize vibes as like a power system, or like really like an ecosystem, because all the different types of beings in this world utilize it or don't utilize it, or they're like predatory because they don't naturally produce access to it. So yeah, could you speak more about that? I'm sorry, I'm fangirling because that was literally my favorite thing about the book.
Thank you. The system actually was based on so being in the Caribbean and being a creative in the Caribbean. Vibes was a allegory for like talent, and talent is a big thing in the Caribbean. So we produce a lot of music, and there's also a lot of visual art. But then wherever there's art and creativity, you have what some people would coin as culture vultures. So you have people who may exploit it. And exploitation, the Caribbean, we have a long history of exploitation through colonialism, etc. And they worked in the advertising industry, which at times can be pretty exploitive as well. So I said, but even exploiting comes with it a sort of creativity. So I said, well, that's probably negative vibes, because you got to be pretty clever to still exploit people, even though that's a negative thing. So I put that on one end of the spectrum. And then the people who are just like, vibing and creating their thing, who just want to live for the art and express themselves, I put them on like the positive spectrum. Then they had like in between, and they started to build this this kind of unobtainium. We never really see what vibes is, but you kind of get it. It's almost like our thing. So and I think globally melanated people kind of get it.
Yes.
You don't have to be from the Caribbean to kind of understand what we're talking about. Like so African Americans who have a vibe, Caribbean people, Latino people, there's a sort of vibe. I tell people wherever there's a drum,
Ooh,
that's
say
from
that.
African root. There's a rhythm, and wherever there's a rhythm, there's a vibe. So, and any storytelling is kind of based on like our oral tradition. So, to springboard off of what Nigel was saying, the reason why we don't really document a lot of stuff is because our root in how we pass on knowledge is usually the oral tradition, which is steeped in West African culture, and that works. But then when as you become more westernized, it becomes vulnerable because younger people stray away from that. So I think the comic book medium was a good way to preserve that in the form of literature. And hopefully, as long as the content is in print, you'll be able to preserve and kind of capture this content, even like because we're talking about the hurricanes and how they're named, but the first peoples, the word hurricane comes from the god hurricane. So they saw these things as like gods, and when I speak to first peoples, I mean like the Kalinago people here in the Caribbean, those indigenous people. So we kind of still use their words when we say things like hurricane and the other words that survive. Um, so I wanted to capture all of that in this like ecosystem because the Caribbean is a collection of different islands. There's the English speaking Caribbean, which we're from, but there's also the Spanish Caribbean, the French Caribbean, the Dutch Caribbean. And with it comes a lot of different cultural nuances, mixtures of African, European, and East Indian um, heritage, and also Asian heritage as well. So it's really a melting pot. And the book basically kind of reflected that with this pantheon of folk characters all living in this one ecosystem and the social tensions that also come with that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Like some LT said, globally melanated people. I'm gonna use that, and same, because absolutely yes. And to sort of piggyback off of what you were saying about like the tradition of orally passing things on, it kind of, and I think you mentioned also about how like in other cultures it's like so ingrained that everybody knows about, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a obvious example, but like, for a prime example of this, we were just talking about this the other day, like when you say dragons, people automatically think of like the European version of dragons or like Asian culture versions of dragons. So for us to come across like these other stories, specifically we were talking about like indigenous tribes versions of what dragons look like and how it was so cool and seemed so unique, and they're like, this has been a part of our culture, that sort of thing. It's like the cultures that were kind of disrupted and stolen from and had to kind of rebuild, we tend to be more precious with those things. Like I love the new trend now where everybody's like, everybody is not don't you tell those people asking those questions what that means. If they don't get it, they don't get it, you know what I mean? Like just passing it to us. But I love that this was done in such a way that it still feels true and like intentional of how these characters were introduced with like elements of it, so that it's something that you automatically understand and get a little more context for, and you have that like sense of community and sense of humor and like the description of how these things go. And if you know like what this is also sort of referencing to, like, because obviously a lot of these creatures or these beings, entities, come about in response to some outside thing that's causing us to have to be protective of ourselves or of our community. So yeah, just really awesome. Sorry, I'm missing the chat, guys.
Oh no, I got it. You're
okay,
good.
cool.
I did want to ask you, Nigel, like, just what is your inspiration for your art style? Because like I loved the art. Like
Matthew.
Yes.
Matthew's
Oh yeah, that'll be my area. Sorry. No problem.
So what was the inspiration? Because I loved it. Like it is stunning.
I bookmarked my favorite pages / panels. Can you make me big while he's talking about this so people could see what I'm talking about?
Let me see.
And then I want to see what yours were too.
Hold on. Let me see if I.
There we go.
What did I do?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So she's actually based on, let's say, a king or queen of the band costume, which is one of the larger crop over / carnival costumes you would have, and they would usually be the centerpiece of
Yeah.
a band section. So the carnival bands will be divided into different groups that have different themes. So your costumes would reflect the theme of that band. And that character, she's based on a squid. And one of the characters, um, he is the father of her children, but he's kind of like an absentee father. So she's not happy with him right now. In that section, you know, when you get the book, you would see what's going on, and it was kind of like a fun moment because it is based on reality, you know, cultural nuance, but it's also kind of universal. I mean, that's not unique to the Caribbean or Barbados, and but in her splendor, that's the form that she takes. Um, I the aesthetic of the book is based on the color palette that you would see living on a tropical island. So there's a lot of harsh colors, but colors here are also fade. So if you have your house painted, even your vehicle, the sun will eventually bleach it out. So there's a lot of like pastels in between. If you look at the book, there's no panels really with that are inked truly with a true black. You would have colors, so like blues and browns in there, because if you have posters, and Nigel could attest to this, in the Caribbean, within a month they start to fade in the store windows because the sun can be quite harsh. Yeah, your house fades, your car fades. So I wanted to kind of reflect that too. But then like the flora is very bright. Like there's so many flowers and stuff that are almost like artificial looking colors, like frangipani trees and bougainvillea bush. They have some flowers that almost look like if they're artificial because their colors are so bright. So I wanted the book to reflect that color palette.
That's actually the background for today.
So that's so funny. Like Keisha makes the awesome backgrounds, but the fact that we both have picked like favorite pages or panels and they're the same thing, even though we haven't talked about it, is pretty cool. Yeah, I love the use of like animals that we would be familiar with, but either like as modes of transportation or like humongous in size and just being like normalized in that space. So like can you share with us a bit like what your world building process was like? Was it like, okay, I have all these elements in my head and we have to figure out how to put them in there? Or did you guys have a conversation about like the sea creatures as like air motorcycles? Like what? I'm like, as I was reading this, I was like, what type of world building process do they have? Or if this is just like living in your brain, we have to kick it? Because I'm like, where do these even come
So
from?
we just kind of looked around.
Yeah.
Because it's based on how we live here.
So from my experience on the book, as I said, Matthew came up with a lot of the concepts, and he came up with a lot of world building. And when we first started this book, we were pretty new to it in terms of we weren't as experienced as we were now. So what my process was, we came at it from two different positions. Matthew was he came up with the ideas and because he's just thinking of this stuff. He's just that page of the squid queen.
Yeah.
I woke up one morning and that was in my email. That was not a part of the script. I was like, okay, so what do we do now? Right? So a lot of it was a little stressful, but I kind of brought balance to the project. Certain things like that I kind of saw like pacing, or I would help a lot with the characterization of the characters. Yeah. So a lot of the giving each character different personalities and writing them to have different speech patterns and that kind of stuff. So you have Sam Lord is a certain way. Bolo is my favorite character, and Zahrah, their relationship. Uh, at the time too, I was telling him we was going ahead and we was doing some stuff, and it was like we should change it up and have it that she's actively trying to escape capture. So just things like that. So the book was written over like 5 years because we kind of tackled it chapter by chapter.
Yeah.
And as we kind of see, we'll find that the tone of the book kind of changes a little bit because as we were writing the book, we're getting more experience, we're learning different things, where storytelling is getting better, and stuff like that. So even down to like the artwork is getting smoother. There's different things about it. And what would happen is Matthew had a lot of that stuff in his head, and I was there to kind of help put it on the page and put it in the right position, or say like just shift these around and help with the story structure, because that's where I was strong at writing in terms of story structure, telling stories. Because in a comic book, you have to get so much across in so little time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I have to make you either do two things with a character. You have to love a character or you have to hate a character. And if I've succeeded in that, you know what I mean, it means that I've done my job in the allotted pages. So it was a challenge, but it was also fun. And there's a lot of things in there that were little Easter eggs that we didn't spell out, but hopefully people would kind of see it. And sometimes people will come and ask me questions about it. And then I would know, well, yeah, they kind of got that part, or we did this, or we broke our own rules in the book, or stuff like that. So the world building, as Matthew said, it was taking things in the Caribbean, especially in Barbados, and mashing them together. Flying fish with minibuses. You see a lot of our police force in there. The Caribbean at the time had a very distinct looking police force based off of, all the police uniforms in the Caribbean kind of looked basically the same. So Matthew, as you hear him talk, he's a history buff. He knows his stuff, and he just kind of infuse those things into the story as much as possible.
Yeah, you did your big one with that, because like the ship made of our ancestors' souls, like protecting us. I was like, tea, this is so tea. Love that. Yes, wait, no, I love it.
That's adorable.
I love it.
Adorable.
He was such a vibe. I'm like, okay, more of this.
Yeah, he's my favorite. He's my favorite character.
As he should be. I feel like there's like a merch situation happening that I need to know more about, and I have to know.
This is mine. I got this one made for me.
Okay, just for you. You're like, no, you can't get this. This is one of one. That's okay. That's fair. That's fair. That's totally fair. So we have to we want to make sure that we're being respectful of y'all's time, but there's two questions that we can't let y'all leave without asking. So one of them is, this world is so well built and fleshed out and feels so lush. Do you intend to write, give us any more stories or write more in this particular world?
I
that is in the works. I've been harassing Nigel. when he met Nigel had locks. I know he doesn't. That's how much I harassed him.
Period.
So we're definitely talking. We're definitely talking about it, and there's other stuff in the works as well. And I have to shout out to the Megascope crew as well.
Yes.
They got John and all the Megascope family and the Beyond family as well. Shout out to the Beyond Publishing family. But we are constantly creating. So even outside of this world, there's other books and like similar worlds that we're also working on. I might be doing my first superhero based book, so I'm gonna the knocking. Well, I was sending stuff to Nigel, so he's kind of getting the hints.
The look on Nigel's face tells
Right?
me you be stressing him out. That's too funny, but I love that. Okay, and then my last question before we get your guys' shameless plugs about everything you got going on and where people can support you is so you just gave a shout out to Megascope. That's the imprint that Hardears is printed under through Abrams Comics Art. We talked about like all of our introductions to learning what the Megascope was. So we want to hear from you guys. What does the mission and the origins of the Megascope mean to you, and specifically the Hardier story?
Are you speaking about the imprint itself in terms of what it means?
The imprint and the device that the imprint was named after.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, what I would say is this book. As I said, I wasn't jumping onto doing this book, but in turn, this became one of the things that I'm most known for, and it has opened so many doors for me. So I really do appreciate that Matthew saw the the vision that we could have produced something together, and that John actually saw it as something that he wanted to put out to the world and share because uh, the Caribbean is almost like the US's redheaded stepson kind of thing, just there only for fun and games kind of thing. Uh, so to be put on that kind of world stage and someone take a chance with us like that, I would always appreciate that. In terms of the concept of the megascope, I just know a little bit about it. Where it was a part of a science fiction story with a device that I think it saw into the future.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's interesting. Because I'm a person who personally write science fiction myself, and writing science fiction also calls for you to look into the future. And depending on your own personality and stuff, you may have a positive future or your future may be bleak. Uh, my stories tend to be very dark, so it means it kind of tells you a little bit something about my soul. So, but being able to see where humanity is going and being able to either warn people through stories or give them advice through stories is a talent, and is also something that you should, it's a good thing. We read about history, and you say you shouldn't repeat history, but sometimes if we look into the future, we can, look at history as a lesson, and then look into our future and see if we're going back down that same road again.
Thanks. How about you, Matthew?
Yeah, I think the Megascope, it provides a view into where we've come from, where we are, because in the Afrofuturist outlook, we tend to look at our past and our heritage. We look at our ancestors, and then we use that to guide us going forward. And I think that tends to be the basis of Afrofuturist philosophy. And I think that in terms of the allegory of the megascope, I think we all are creatives, podcasters, everyone in this space. We are the fuel of the megascope. So we power it, and we allow the anyone. You don't have to be a melanated person, but anyone who enjoys the content and they gaze through this megascope, we're providing the fuel for that fictitious device to work. We're providing the content and basically entertainment. I think um, the comic book space is just such a fantastic space that just allows people to escape and have a good time. You can
Yeah.
read it with friends, you can consume it solitarily. It's just such a fantastic merger of literature and the visual arts. And I think that all creatives especially Afrofuturists, are really providing the fuel for the Megascope to function. So that's kind of how I view it. Both the mission of the publisher that carries that namesake, as well as the fictional device.
That's so awesome. The fuel for the Megascope to function. That's another. You've been dropping bars, Matthew, all episode. What you on? Well, thank you guys so much.
I teach as well, so that's kind of
Okay.
like
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I just
That's
stay
it.
dropping gems all
I
the
teach
time.
I teach animation. So my students hear me rambling all day.
No, definitely not rambling. All gems, all bars. So yeah, we definitely want to make sure that everyone watching now or watching later on the replay knows where to find you guys, what you have coming up next, where to purchase your books or your merch or anything you have going on. I want you to just shameless plug everything you have going on for yourselves right now so they can go support you and drop some coins.
So I got two. This is the last book I kind of put out. It's called Neon Ghost. It's a science
Okay.
fiction book, and it's all set in this world called Devour the Stray Dogs, which Matthew spoke about. This is a science fiction cyberpunk story. This one has a female protagonist from the Caribbean, and as you said, it has different things infused with Caribbean culture in there. So, for instance, she has a helicopter and it's called the Baku, and it's stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we try to put Caribbean, and as a part of it too, it also takes part in Barbados. If you like action, science fiction, this is the kind of stuff, and this is published by Wiseacre Comics. So if you go on their website,
Yeah.
you can go on look for Neon Ghost, and that was true. I just put this book out into a big volume, which is book 1 and 2 together. So you're getting like an awesome value. It's like 120 pages.
Immediately,
So-
yes.
Right.
So,
I'm writing it down.
right,
But
so,
the real question is, where can Pink Riot get signed copies? Because we're about to go buy it right now.
you'd have to come to the Caribbean.
Oh, say less. Say less. You don't have to
Things.
pull
You can
up.
ship things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I've been working on. I've got some other projects too, but they're so far away. But these are currently, if you want to support me, if you want to support my books, these are what I have out right now. Devour the Stray Dogs Volume 1 and Neon Ghosts.
Period. And you get the most money from it if we buy it directly from Wiseacre.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we
All
want.
right. Yeah.
And where can people find you on socials?
Nigel Verse on IG and Alan on Facebook. Alan Lynch on Facebook.
Period. Okay, how about you, Matthew?
Yeah, so of course you can get Hardears from Abrams Books, Barnes and Nobles, Goodreads, wherever good books are sold. The Beyond Publishing catalog, beyondpublishingcaribbean.com. You'll also find Nigel's books on there, along with the other members of the group. You will find our Instagram, Beyond Publishing Caribbean Instagram, as well as Facebook. My personal page is Mixed Chemist. I post art on there as well.
Okay.
And currently working on one of the spin-offs in the Stray Dogs universe, Indigo Child with Nigel. Also working on a personal project of mine as well called Heartman. Working on something special with John. Don't want to say too much about it yet, but it's going to be a horror. So we're working on that as well. Pretty busy. And
Period.
you can also find because whatever's Nigel's is mine. So like go on Wiseacres, buy his book, support the Stray Dogs universe as well. Go on Amazon, Abrams.com, get your copies of Hardears. You know, just enjoy it. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Period. Okay, yeah, definitely go support, guys. One thing we didn't mention is Megascope does not play about having a gorgeous edition. Our editions are hardcover, and look at this naked cover. She's sexy,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Every single book.
They don't miss. This is a good quality book that will like last forever in your collection. Like, don't sleep. Run and go cop that copy ASAP. Thank you guys so much for coming through and sharing
Thank you
with
for
us.
having us.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you for
yeah.
having us. I'm a big fan. I actually watch you guys every week. I didn't say anything, but yeah, I watch you guys all the time.
Oh, mind
he was he
blown.
was he was talking about this the whole week, so he was very excited.
Oh,
I was
listen,
too.
we were too. So
Right?
like, period.
Oh,
and I
thank
heard you say that there's things a lot like coming along the pike that is too soon to speak about. So it sounds like we're just gonna have you guys back.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Period.
That would really
Yeah, that'd
appreciate
be
it.
great. That'd be great.
Yay! Thank you guys so much for coming through. You guys, if you
Right,
haven't
thank
already,
you.
run and go cop their books, support them, and show them all of the love so that we can have them back sooner rather than later. We really appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh man, that was awesome.
Wait, that is so cool to have somebody say, like, I watch your show every week. What do
Right.
you mean? Nigel watches our show every week. That's nuts.
That was oh man. I don't know. Okay. I'm like
Spazzing.
compose
Low-key
myself,
spazzing.
right? Compose myself. Because we have another interview with
Like,
another amazing
what are we doing? Like, who are we now? Like, this many
Who are
iconic
we?
guests in one episode? Like, what is
Oh my
happening in the
goodness.
world? I'm here for it,
And
though.
and they're both Megascope and
Like,
just such amazing books. Oh my
y'all,
goodness.
if this isn't an indication to be as delulu as you will allow yourself and then be even more delulu, because when we first started Pink Riot, we literally were like, yeah,
We
what would
just
be
gotta
our
kick it.
dream things to do? We were like,
Yeah.
what were some of the stories we bonded about before we even decided to do Pink Riot? And we were constantly talking Megascope, like, yeah, we want to
Yes.
do Megascope things. We want to link with John Jennings. All of these things are happening.
They are.
Like, if this isn't your sign to just be Delulu and do the things and believe in your dream and your vision and that people will rock with you along the way. Okay, I'm getting hot. This is crazy.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring our next guest out because
Yes.
once
They've been
again,
waiting very patiently while we've been
they've been
kikiing this whole time.
very patient. They've been so patient with us,
Yes.
but like I love this book so much. Let's give it up for the amazing. Hold on. Once again, let's see if I can do two things at once. The
Period.
amazing Jazmine Joyner.
Hello.
How are you? Hey.
I'm good. Hi.
Hi. Oh my
I
God.
love y'all. The Delulu is like that's how I lead my life. It's 100% Delulu. Look at my resume. It's all Delulu things.
So
Honestly,
you know
you have the resume of my goals. Like you wrote all over the place. You know, you have your own comic shop. Like first Black woman who with their own comic shop on the West Coast. Like you have a graphic novel out. To me, you're winning. Like in so many ways, you are winning, and I stand you.
Oh, thank you. I was just outside being Delulu, just doing
Period.
things,
See,
just being absolutely Delulu. But yeah,
Yes.
I mean, and I also edit comics too. Just
Okay.
sometimes.
And that's
I
also
work-
something
See?
that Keisha wants to do, like
yeah,
rub elbows.
right.
Yes.
Rub the virtual elbows. Also, like I had read the book and didn't realize how like actually stunning of a person you are. And it's kind of blowing my mind right now how beautiful your skin is. Like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
tea? I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just like very much like, golly, that is unfair.
That's so nice. Thank you. I just wash my face, you know.
Period.
And
You're
then
glowing.
I put
Just
on
saying.
makeup for y'all, and we turned on the big lights for y'all. So that was
Oh,
it.
See?
You're done.
Okay.
And I put on a little makeup for y'all, you know, just a little bit. I did my best. Thank you.
Period. Looking good with a T.
Right?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
But
you.
yes, we are here to talk about.
Devour.
Oh my god.
When I
Thank
tell
you
you,
guys.
I am the scariest person when it comes to spiders. This skeeved me out in the absolute best way.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
It's
my
very
god.
upsetting. It's very upsetting. And I wrote it.
Like what?
For those that don't know, Devour is an Anansi retelling, remix, reimagining, and it proposes this question of what would happen if Anansi went mad with our stories. And man, this you're absolutely right. It is unsettling in like some of the best ways.
Yeah. I used to not like spiders when I started writing this book. And then after all the research on spiders and like all the facts I know about spiders now, they're kind of my friends and I just escort them out the house now. I don't kill spiders. They're friends now.
Oh,
They
Like
are. They're so sweet.
I love spiders now. They're very cute but some the big ones though can just stay over there. Like
Yeah.
just
there was an
Yeah.
orb
my
spider on my
gosh.
patio that was like this big and I was like, "You're cool. That's your patio now." And I just
Like literally,
Yeah.
we are roommates.
yeah.
Because I'm not
Yeah.
touching the spider. I had to
My
learn the
favorite
hard
rat.
way, like which spiders are our friends and we should leave alone because they eat the other
Mhm.
dangerous
Mhm.
bugs. But I'm not a spider girly. I'm like, I want to show this page, but I don't want to be like spoiling things. But I need y'all to know and
It's serious.
understand why I was thoroughly skeeved out by this book in the best
Okay.
way.
You can show
So,
it. Go ahead.
yeah,
Spoiler
I'm gonna
alert.
show this because this is not a spoiler. Oh, see, you went and got a worse.
I
See,
had
I
to
was gonna be
show like
nice. I got this one.
the
Yeah, that's upsetting
creepiness.
too.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. It's pretty upsetting. As I was writing it and I would email our editor, Charlotte, who doesn't like spiders, and I'd be like, "I'm so sorry, Charlotte.
And
I'm
the pictures
so
we
sorry."
showed are like the bigger spiders, but there's other
Yeah.
pictures where there's like
Everywhere.
hella little spiders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've
Like,
just
oh
been
my god.
swarmed by a bunch of spiders. Basically, I thought of the worst way that spiders could attack us, and then I dialed that up to 11. And I apologize. And usually, when I tell people about this book, I go, "Do you like spiders?" And then they go, "No." As always, they always go, "No." And I'm like, "Then you don't want to read it. It's okay. I appreciate the support, but it's gonna upset you." But
But no, it's
it's
such a good story though. Like they
I
should.
if you can
need
get past it, if you can get past the spiders, like devouring people, then you'd be really into it. I'm
but
so
it's
sorry.
it's such a unique take on Anansi
Yeah.
because like we don't yes, Anansi is a trickster and all of that, but we don't really think of him in this particular light. And it makes sense historically. Like if you look at, you know, our history in America and you think about like how gods could travel with their people, like this is something that could happen. So like I mean, as creepy
What's
as it is, it made sense.
as creepy as the spider piece of it is, the even creepier part that has had me all the way messed up is the connection to like Alzheimer's. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my gosh.
I like
That
how it
hit me all the way in the feels. And you know when a concept like just won't leave your brain and you're like trying to mind your business and watch anime or wash dishes or something and it pops back in your head. That was me with this book.
yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh.
wanted
Okay.
to see like how memories again, like we have a genetic memory of slavery and it like we carry it with us
Yeah.
forever, but how the memories could actually harm you, and then how someone who loved stories and loved his people telling him stories could go mad from just trying to carry all of those awful stories coming to America with his people. and
Yeah.
it just it drove him mad. He just wanted to hear all their stories, and then that's not good.
And that's how you wrote the
Yeah.
hell out of that as a
Thank
character
you.
to make it
Yeah.
like stick with us like that. But I'm like fangirling and doing things all out of order.
Right.
What we love to do on Pink Riot is hear about Black comic creators' origin stories. So we want to hear from you. What was your comic book origin story like? What got you into reading comics, and also what got you into creating comics?
So my sister went to college at Hampton University,
Hey,
and you went to go visit her at Hampton. I was in high school. She was like her sophomore year or something. And there was a comic book shop that she used to frequent a lot. And I told her to take me there because I used to get comics at the supermarket, like Archie and stuff. I grew up in Southern California,
hey.
specifically Riverside. Yeah, it's not the best. It's like I will be repping Riverside by myself. And we so there weren't a lot of comic book shops near me. There was only like one, and they weren't very friendly places to go in if you were femme and like 16. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I know. But there was this old man in Virginia, Hampton, Virginia, who had a comic book shop, and it was just full of long boxes full of comics. And he was just like a really nice guy. And Free Comic Book Day was like the day before. And I was an emo kid, and that's when the Umbrella Academy, the
Hey.
Gerard Way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gerard Way introduced the Umbrella Academy during Free Comic Book Day, and I got 2 issues of that. He's like, nobody's coming in here for this, so he just like handed me a pile of them. I still have them.
Oh,
Yeah.
He was like, nobody else wants this, and I'm like in like black eyeliner and my Chemical Romance t-shirt. I'm like, yeah, I want this.
I
And then
want
he
this.
handed
Oh,
me. And then he was like, well, if he looked at me, and then he handed me Sandman because, you know, the way death looks. And then I was kind of giving goth. He's like, you probably like this. And I was like, okay, thank you, bye. And I like left the store. And then I went back to my sister's apartment, and a hurricane was hitting. Her apartment was on the beach. And so she had a big glass window, and we were stuck inside the house. And I just read Sandman and that comic, and I got really, really into it. And once I read that, I had to get more and more and more. And then I got into manga. My mom started buying my brother the Shonen Jump, like started getting it to the house.
Yeah.
And then I got into manga, and then I never looked back. And here we are now.
Period. Love that. So what got you into creating comics?
So I never thought I could like create comics. I wrote for Women Write About Comics for a really long time, and IGN and all these other outlets, just doing reviews and talking about comic book movies, and just being a really intense fan around comics, but I never thought to write them. And then one day, I had my comic book shop in Riverside. I don't have my comic book shop anymore. I had to close it because I had 2 spine surgeries in 1 year, and then the business just kind of fell apart after that. But when I owned my comic book shop, John Jennings, the man behind Megascope, walked into my shop as I was about to email him because I was going to write a piece about kindred for Black girl nerds. First, his wife walked in, and I was like, because there's not a lot of Black people that just walk into the comic book shop. So I was like, and then a Black woman walks in, and I'm like, And I was like, what brings you in today? And then she's like, my husband. And she started talking about her husband. And then I was like, oh. And then the more she kept talking about her husband, I was like, is your husband John Jennings? And she was like, yes. And then we're both staring at each other because now it's creepy. And I was like, because, you know, I was giving like, do you perchance know this? Like a very big creep. And I was like, I'm not a creep. I was about to email your husband, and I have to ask him a question. She's like, it's fine. Then she yelled out the door because he was on the phone. She's like, John, somebody in here needs to talk to you. And then he walked in. And that
Love
was
that.
That's awesome.
he walked in and we talked for a while and I was like, I'm still gonna send you an email. Just watch out for that. Thank you for coming to my comic book shop.
Right.
And then he eventually he moved across the street from where our comic book shop was. And we became friends. And then he started talking to me about his imprint. And he kept talking to me about his imprint. And I was like, I write. And he would start sending me things. He's like, what do you think about this book? You think I should get it for it just kept going. And then one day he was like, would you like to edit for the imprint? I was like, okay.
Okay.
That sounds fun. I was like, I'd love to. That sounds cool. And then one day we were talking and he was like, I had this idea, because the original idea came from John, where John was like, what if we're walking his dog Teddy? And he was like, what if a Nancy went mad? That's all he said to me. And I was like, can I have that?
I would take that.
I was like, can I have that? And he was like, yeah, you can have it. I was like, if I write something, can I just send it to you and you tell me if you like it? And he's like, yeah. So then I went home and then I frantically wrote the first chapter, the flashback in the first chapter. I wrote it as a short story. A short story. And I sent it to John. Just, shits and giggles. And then
Casual. No big deal.
I was like, you remember that thing you said when we were walking Teddy? Here's what happened. See, what happened was I wrote this. So what do you think? And then he read it and he was like, pitch. That's exactly what he said. And then that's exactly what he said. He's like, can you write more? And I was like, yeah, I can write more. I was like, we can keep it going. If you,
yeah.
And then one thing, and then boom, book. You write book now. And I was like, okay.
And then boom, book.
Do that.
Period.
Because I found because then at that same time I left Megascope or Abrams Comics Arts to go work at IDW, and he was like, "But we'll still be working together." So you go, right? You go right.
Like, just to be clear,
before you go, you're writing this, and I'm like, okay, I can do that.
That is so dope.
Thank you. But yes, it all was born through lots of happenstances, but again, being Delulu and never saying no. I was just like, okay, I'd be down to. But the Delulu thing is real. Like the comic book shop, I would have never opened a comic book shop unless Riverside had really bad comic book shops and they weren't open. Early 2000s Riverside. I have no idea what it's like right now. But when a femme walked into the store, they'd be like, oh, the Harley Quinn's over there. Or they try to quiz you. Quiz you. And the quiz questions would be like, what's Batman's real name? Like nothing hard. Would just be like, oh, okay. And it was very uncomfortable.
Because why are we getting a quiz? Yeah. Do you want me to spend my money or not?
The answer is no. And they want you to leave. Yeah. So I tried to make a comic book shop that was more community focused and was more inviting, a more inviting energy. And I think the time that we were open, we had community nights, we did drawing classes and drawing hangouts, we did Smash Bros tournaments. I had a program where kids would come in with their old trade paperbacks. If they couldn't necessarily afford a trade paperback, they would just trade me, and then I would trade them, and then I put the used one on things. So we had a trading system with all the kids in the neighborhood, so they could still read. Yeah,
I love that.
So they would give me an old Flash book they'd have, and I'd be like, "Here's number 2. Go ahead, we'll trade," and then we'll just keep doing that. And then I had a used book section because the kids just kept trading me. So
that is amazing. Oh my goodness. We need more shops to do that because not enough do any of those things.
Right.
Whether they lack the resources or they just don't care.
I'm sure we didn't have the resources for me to be doing that. But at the same time, I was like, how else are these kids gonna get books? They usually just came in and looked around and talked about comics. But I was like, the babies can have whatever they want. just whatever. You want to
Period. Let
read,
them
please.
babies read.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, even if it was a brand new book they wanted, I was like, you can have it. It was a trade. It's fine. You'll bring it back, and then we'll just do it. I have. That's my issue. Is I like approach business very like it was serious, but it was kind of unserious because I'm like the need is there. We'll
Yeah.
figure out what to do about the financial side later. It's about the community and less about making a profit. So eventually, when I get more settled, I want to try it again and open another shop like that.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
For those
I would love.
listening, Raven said, truly could have used a shop like that when I was a teen/college kid. And that's facts.
Yeah.
I feel that. Yeah, that's why I did it because I would go into comic book shops and see these big trade paperbacks, and I'd be like, I'd like that, but I have no money. And then
I have no money.
I have no money, please, sir. May I have the Superman comics,
More,
sir?
please. More Superman, please.
More Superman, please, sir. And they just were like, get out. And I'm like, cool.
Literally. Yeah.
So I want to do something like that because it's necessary, especially now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, especially now. Especially
Yeah.
when kids are struggling to find third spaces, like not online and stuff like that. Like, yes.
This is why I
Um,
scream about the library. I'm always screaming about the library because they essentially
yes.
they do that. And if you have a device, you can get the library on your device. But I will pitch the library. So I'll wait till the end when I get to hawk my books because I'm just gonna hawk on the library.
Listen, you're in the right space because
Yeah.
we hype up the library every chance we get.
Yep.
Because, like Raven said, when they were a college student, whatever, I had match any type of way I could get it. This was back when we were all giving our laptops AIDS with Napster. I was downloading half of books where parts of it were like redacted and whatever because the library hold was too long. Yes, it is very much needed. So yeah.
Yes. Everybody gets free books. I love when you giving our laptops eggs again.
It was a real thing.
It was a time. It
Yeah,
was
what
a
a
time.
time to be alive.
The family computer destroyed.
It was right. Right, that brought back a whole memory. I was embarrassed.
Literally, like you're like trying to take your stuff to Geek Squad. Like, I don't know what happened. We know exactly what happened. We know.
Just trying to download shit you should not be downloading. Yes.
Literally. But it was like, why is the universe punishing me for trying to download free books? Like, if I had the money, I would buy them. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, there should be an option of pay what you can with books. I feel like a lot of itch.io where you can get independent comics. A lot of the artists on itch.io can do pay what you can. So it's like $0 to like $15, and I like that. I like that price scaling. And that's something I would like to do in a business type of bookstore type of way. But
100%, especially for like younger kids and like teenagers, because there's like literally everything else telling them not to read, and that's like the time that they should be reading if they're going to ignite a love for reading that would like last forever. So yeah,
especially comics
work.
Yeah, comics are the greatest tool, in my opinion, of getting kids to read and getting them engaged.
The gateway, yes, the gateway drug to prose and all of that. Like
100%.
Like you start with comics, and then you'll always be with comics, but you start with comics, and you're like, well, maybe I can read this longer book, and then boom, you're hooked, and now you have a problem.
Yeah, that's 100%. How I did it with my kids. It's wonderful.
Perfect. I buy kids all kinds of books and comic books, like all my friends' kids. I'm like, I found out that one of them likes cats. I'm like, I found a cat comic for your kid, and also a cat book, picture book with cats from bodegas. So here you go.
Love that.
Yes. Everyone gets a book.
Yeah, all those Dogman and Cat Kid and the Investigators, all those books. My son loves those books. So yeah, I feel you on that.
Dave Pilkey, great writer, great artist.
All right, so Going back to Devour, like this is
Yes,
your
sorry.
first graphic novel. No, you're good. This is your first graphic novel. Knowing that you have a lot of experience writing about comics, but like, what was that experience like making it? Like,
I feel so, like you said, I come from a lot of different sections of comics, from like the comic book shop, writing it like the critic side, and then at the time I was writing this, I was an editor for comics. So working with artists and seeing how they like to approach their work really helped me a lot during this time, because it was really interesting, because again, I've always just been the person reading the comic and helping people get through their creative process, and just being like, you can talk to me, and then you don't ever have to talk to the publisher. You just look at me, I got it, I'll talk to them. You tell me, I get you, whatever you want. But now being on the other side and looking at like Charlotte and just being like, hey, and then Charlotte going, okay, your deadline's this. I'm like, oh, okay. At first it was strange and uncomfortable, because I was like, I'm used to being able to go think of all sides of this. So think of the cover, think about the writing, think about the art. Let's talk to the artist and the pencils, talking to Anthony. So the first thing I did, because John introduced me to Anthony, so Anthony and I both met, and I was like, it'll help since we don't have this like already relationship. I was like, I'm gonna make you a PowerPoint, like a whole PDF, a Hoodoo 101, a Hoodoo 101 of like what I'm using. So because if he's never approached Hoodoo or never thought of any of these practices or anything in this book, I was like, so for your backgrounds and things, like what tools would they be using? What's mentioned here? What does this look like? All of that, like a reference point, because even movies I watched to be inspired, like Eve's Bayou and Daughters of the Dust, and I just had like it's a big fat PDF. Like, and then while I was doing, I was like, am I doing too much? Probably. But I sent him all of these things. I sent him all of these things so we could have a reference point and so we can have something to talk about. So as I'm writing to not only that PDF, but thinking about what would help showcase Anthony's art, because I did want to do a lot of splash pages too. So coming from editing, I read a lot of scripts where the writer tells the artist exactly what to draw. Like there's no moving, and then the artist is like trapped in this little box with this writer going like, you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way. And it kind of makes it not as much of a collaboration as you just telling that guy what to do. So in my writing, it was a screenplay script. Sorry, in my script, I had little to no description. I'll be like, they're standing on the porch, and that's it. Like, because I was like, I want it to be a collaboration. Basically, I'm just doing the words and setting up the conversations. I want you to be the visualizer thing. If there's certain buildings or certain moments that I wanted to capture, I would take a screenshot of what I was thinking, like a Pinterest idea type deal, and just stick it in the screenplay. And I'd be like, or the script, and I'd be like, this is the building that I was thinking about, but you don't have to do this. And it's like in brackets, like, you really don't have to do this. This is just an idea of what I want. But if you think it's better, like this is like a whole thing, but if you think it's better, then you don't have to do this. And then back to the script. Like that's a whole note.
Like I'm picturing these like super thick margins of all of your explanation of the things.
Yeah, like, but you don't have to do it. You don't have to, you can just ignore this whole thing. Like it's like a whole list of things. But then, but if you read the description, I'll be like, this is the house. They walked across the room. Like, I'm not giving you anything because I don't want to damper Anthony's artistic vision on this, because I noticed as an editor, when writers did that, it would suffocate the comic, and the comic wasn't as good. You just got to let people breathe and truly collaborate. I'm like, this is all you, man. I'm just here to go, that looks cool. I'm I'm just the writer. So he would run stuff by me, and I'm like, "Do you like it? I mean, I like it, but do you like it? Because if you don't like it, you can redraw it. I'll stand by you 100%. I just wrote the words, bro. You did like he did. Because also when it comes to comics, he's doing the majority of the work. Like Anthony is in here doing all the drawing. He's got to do basically 3 versions of this. He's got to do the pencils. He's got to do the ink. He has to do the colors. Like, and then he has to do character designs before that. He has to do like setting designs and all of these things, concept art for Nancy, like in Nancy's human form. He's doing all of this stuff. And I'm just going, they walked across the porch. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to give him space. And the really important part, again, from coming from editing, is to hit my deadlines. Because if I hit my deadlines, that will give Anthony way more time to draw. So 90% of my thinking when working on this is how can I make this as easy as possible and be less of a burden on Anthony? Because again, I was an editor and I was fighting tooth and nail to get these artists to work with these writers.
That helped you so much because like you can just tell he was able to do what he needed and wanted to do in this story.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Phenomenal. You make me think that like nearly every writer needs to have like a crash course in editing to like truly understand, and maybe that would help.
Yeah, I feel like it helps a bunch. Just work in comics editing for 5 minutes, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, don't be like that."
Oh no.
Don't be like, it's okay. Like collect, because again, comics is a team sport. Not only is it like the artist and the writer and the inker and the letterer and the penciler, and then you have all the people behind the scenes, the editor, the graphic designer, the HR lady, all of them. We're all working to make sure this all hits and gets to the certain point. And if there's one person who's like, no, I'm not going to do this, everyone's crying. Everyone's crying. So,
everyone's crying is crazy.
Everyone's crying. You have to be a true team player. It's like playing on a field or something. It's crazy. So my job was to just be, hey, what works for you? How much time do you need? Because towards the end, when I hit my deadline, I just kept texting Anthony. I'm like, do you need more time? Because I'll call Charlotte and I'll just start talking to her about giving you more time. So you
got to look out for your own.
Yeah, you have to.
Okay, LT so LT.
Go ahead.
LT says, but how did you know it stifles the artist? Did you hear it directly from them?
No, they wouldn't say it because they're really nice. But you could tell there's frustration. It's like if you have a panel and the writer keeps coming back and be like, no, I want you to move his head like 2 degrees. And you're like, okay. And then they moved it. They're like, actually go back. No, I don't like that.
That's a crash.
And then they'll be like, and then you're like, okay, finally that panel is perfect. And then you go back to the artist and you go, actually, I don't want that character in the book. We're going to take that character out. Mind you, we're already in the pencils and the characters in like 50% of the book. So now the artist is like, and I was working in floppies. So like weekly, like you got 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes. The book was supposed to be out yesterday. And you're telling this person they have to redraw the whole book. And they just kind of sit there and look at you and blink really slow and then go, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, you're not getting paid enough for this. I'm going to stop this right now. And so you have to, as an editor, you have to pick up on those subtle things because a lot of, especially if they're new artists, they feel like they have to do that. To keep working. They have to work under that kind of incredibly ridiculous strain. But as an editor, I always remind the artist, I'm like, you're kind of the only reason this thing is going. Like it's a comic book. Like, so first off, you should tell your agent, or if they don't have an agent, I'll be like, you want me to go get you some more money or something? And we can stretch out the thing. stretch out the thing because there's no way you're going to redraw this book without more money and more time. And secondly, you don't got to do this. You can just say no. You can just say no.
Yeah.
But it's like, and I wasn't well liked by the publisher side that I worked for because I advocate so much for the artists because I'm also used to working with artists. I don't know. I just feel like the people who draw the books and write the books deserve to be prioritized in the process. But that's none of my business. I'm just over here.
Nah, you are doing an amazing job doing that because the way it wouldn't have been a slow blank, it would have been a lot of something else.
See? And it's really, you can catch that energy from the artists because they're afraid to say something. Because I was working at a semi-large publisher, IDW, and you're working on a large IP. I was working on like Marvel, Spider-Man. I was working on Marvel, Spider-Man Adventures. I was working on Godzilla, Judge Dredd, all these books, all these IP, Transformers, Beast Wars, and they're all afraid to say something because then they get kicked off the IP because then you don't get to work again. I was like, don't be scared. I'll do it. I don't care.
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. I got you. So I took that, all those experiences into working on Devour and realizing, Anthony's really the person we all should be looking at and making sure it's fine. My script is basically just the words on the page and go like, do whatever you want, Anthony. You got it.
It's definitely teamwork because you did talk about your like extensive references PDF. Like you're giving the general direction and you're also supplying the vibe. So it's like they have the space to create freely, but they understand your clear vision. Like that makes a huge difference because can you imagine like if all you had was that word on the page, then it's really like, oh, I just have to figure all of this out. But if you're like, okay, I don't want to tell you exactly what to do, but this is kind of what I had in mind, then it's definitely more collaborative. So I love that you're like, let me pay respect where they're due, but also do that for yourself. Because the energy was definitely there.
Yeah.
I tried. I just gave him a bunch of movies and just tools and things I read and definitions.
Period.
Is that like accessible to the public?
Oh, you want? I can make it. I was thinking of making it into a zine. It's called my Hoodoo 101 PDF. And I was thinking of making it a zine that I could just like have so people want to, if they want to read it and see my research for Devour. But I mean, this is like multiple times I've been asked. I might do that. I'll make it available.
Yeah,
definitely.
People love a good deep dive, especially when you're like, you give them a concept they've never, experienced before, or just, you brought it to them in a really unique way. They're willing to go on that deep dive with you. So, yeah.
All right.
In other words, he's just like, please drop it in my inbox because
that
one thing she loves is some research.
Okay.
I'll drop it in your. I'll send it to you. I'll email you the PDF. I have it, and I will make the zine. You'll get the actual PDF. Yeah. Everybody else, y'all can wait for the zine. I'll make the zine.
Yeah.
So y'all stay on the lookout. Okay. So what I'm curious is, you mentioned that this came from like an off the side like comment about like what if Anansi. So I'm curious like if you would think about, or if you have thought about leaning into like other known like mythological gods having very human issues and like make it a thing, like a series or something.
I was thinking about it. If I got to make another Devour, it would branch into more of the gods, more of the pantheon, and them being very human after their human experiences dealing with being brought over to America. I was thinking about it. I got ideas. I got some ideas.
I got ideas. I got thoughts.
I got
Period.
thoughts.
I love that.
Yeah, because we need to replace American gods. That would be a really dope way to do it.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
did model my when I was writing Anansi, I did use Orlando Jones in my brain as my
Because how can you
Anansi.
take him out?
Yeah, you can't.
He's
You did
perfect.
such a
It was
damn good
perfect.
job.
It's just he's just that's who you know what Anansi is Orlando Jones, and I've done that's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Mhm.
So that's who was in my brain as I wrote this, and that's who stays. So yeah, we need I can't like
Wait,
when I was listening.
does Orlando Jones know this? Like, have you ever like put it on
I've
social
never
media?
I've never told him, but he did read the book and he's like on the he like did a pull quote thing and he said
That's
he
so
liked it. So I was like,
Period.
oh my god, and then
Yeah.
I was very excited. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, look at it. It's right there.
Y'all, so that
right.
in his interpretation, that slave ship monologue
Yeah.
is burned on my brain. Like
It's a
not going
part.
anywhere ever.
Yes, it's history. It's iconic. It's everything. And yes, my answer yes. I would do a whole pantheon within this universe of gods having very human moments.
Love that.
Because yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it does kind of lend itself to be able to do that.
It does.
Yep.
Very much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Oh. All right. Hold on. Where are we on time? Because, like you said, we want to honor time and all.
Yeah,
We're good.
Ish. You got maybe like 5 minutes before we want to. You can do like one more question, and then we want to ask about our Megascope question and get into their shameless plugs.
Okay. So, since writing Devour, how has it impacted like the way you write now, or like what you're working on right now?
Since writing Devour, I think it's impacted. It solidified the way that I write now for graphic novels, like writing for the artist and being very collaborative and talking to the artist. Solidified how much of a team sport it is because it was I'd never worked on the other side of comic development. So after doing it, I was like, oh yeah, no, that's how you gotta advocate for your artist because again, I can't draw. I mean, I can. It's just like stick figures and stuff. If y'all want to read a whole book of stick figures, cool. But Anthony is the one. So advocating for the artist and doing that more and possibly doing a more detailed. I know my already PDF was already detailed, but I felt like I could have done more to be more collaborative, even talking to him more about the story as I was writing it. Because I talked to him a bit and he was kind of like me. He was like, yeah, just write whatever you want. And I was like, but wait, I want your input too. wait, come back. I need to talk to you about this scene. And he's like, no, I trust you. I want to see what you're going to write. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I think I would like to try like a collaborative, like back and forth input from the artist, a little more input, a little more of his ideas. Because he gave me ideas about certain things, like what Anansi can do and all of that stuff. But I'd like to have more of a, I don't know, symbiotic vibe where it's both of us working. Also, side note, if you hear a cat screaming in the background, I have an elderly cat named Apollo, and this is around the time he starts screaming. So he has a screaming hour. So I just want to let that go.
We cannot hear
He's
the
old.
cat, but that's hilarious.
Okay. That's good. He's old. I can't stop him. He just has feelings. He has feelings and he needs to let them out.
Apollo said, I'm tired of this shit.
He's like, you're not talking to me. I need you to talk to me. And I'm like, okay, hold on. But yes, I think that's what I would take into my writing things is having more input and collaboration on the writing side of things. But yes, the traditional screaming power. Yes, it is traditional and it is until about 8 he will scream.
That's too dang bad.
Right?
He's exactly. He's
Oh
back
no,
there just
Elsie
here.
said Apollo might have run into Anansi up in there.
He makes friends with spiders. If he sees a spider, he'll sit next to it and then they just kind of hang out. He just makes friends with spiders. He's very strange. He's a little
Oh,
old
that's not
man. He's
terrifying.
14.
Not
He's
at
not he's
all.
14 and he'll like bat at the spider and then the spider will walk up to him and they like kind of shake hands and hang out. I've never seen anything like it. But Apollo's just living his best
You
life.
think that cat is screaming? That cat is in there summoning something.
Oh my god. Oh my god. You're probably
Telling him his
right.
day.
You're probably right.
Oh my
He's out here
gosh.
talking to spiders. It's none of my business though. I'm like, you do you, man. You have
There you
friends.
go. That it's not heavy on the it's none of my business because absolutely not. I don't need to know none of that.
I don't need to know his private life. I just know from 7 to 8 he's screaming.
Oh my gosh. The fact that it's like an actual hour, like clean hour, is definitely a concern.
He's right under my desk. And he's starting up. He's revving up. He's orange. If you know anything about orange cats, they scream.
And he's doing it so close to you, so like you have no choice but to listen.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
and
it's
to
like a
warn.
protection ritual.
Probably. But he's literally right under me.
Oh my god.
And
I heard it
hear
that time. He said, I hear you talking shit.
Right?
He's like, you talking shit. And now what? Now everybody's got to hear. And I'm like, all right, fine. I don't care.
So you blow my spot up now, Mom.
He's just living his best life, just yelling like I didn't just feed him. It's fine. I do feed him and brush his teeth. He's fine.
That's definitely the way that it always goes. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Okay, so we have to hear from you. What does the Megascope, the device, and the imprint mean to you?
I think the seeing into the future is kind of like hopeful. The way the imprint like puts out all these black authors and artists and illustrators and centers black voices and the future of comics is very cool, and I feel like the name is fitting for the imprint. It is viewing black futures and all their glory and whimsical and sometimes scary, full of spidersness.
Scary, full of spidersness. Yes.
I made that up. I'm a writer.
Listen.
Just you can keep that. You can have that one.
Oh my gosh, like that's a bar. Clock it. You can keep it.
You can keep it.
You know what, Jazz? You can come back whenever you want.
Right? Whenever.
Thank you.
Whenever.
I'd be happy to just talk about all my weirdness.
Love it. Okay, so we got to get your shameless plug. Where can people find you? What do you have going on now? What's coming up next? Where can people throw money at your projects? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So, shameless plug for the library. All my books are at the library. They're there. And if you have Hoopla, if you live in the LA area and have Hoopla, you can get it on Hoopla right now. You could just download it and read it. Also on Libby, apparently it's on a wait list. My mom texted me. She's like, your book's on a wait list. I can't believe you. I was like, not that you don't have 10 copies, but it's fine. And you can get it at Libby. You also get it at like Barnes & Noble or wherever you buy books. Local comic book shop, preferably. Local everything bookshop. Do it. What am I doing right now? Right now, I have a game studio with my spouse. We're working on a game right now, and it's going to be pretty cool. I'm writing all the things in the game, and that should come out check me next time when I can tell you when that comes out, because I have no idea when that's going to come out. I also have a graphic novel I'm working on, and that should come out probably in like 2 years if we're lucky. And then yeah, I'm dabbling in possibly writing like a whole video game. It's a whole video game. It's
Nice.
a whole video. It's a whole controllers, and it's going to be on Steam. It's a whole thing.
Period.
A whole thing.
Okay.
So look out for that. Also, I am reading and talking to my yelling cat. That is it.
What are you reading right now?
Oh, I read a lot of manga. So right now I'm reading Tony at Random, which is about Toni Morrison's career at Random House, because I modeled my career after Toni Morrison. I wanted to be a writer and an editor, and so it was really cool to see a book about Toni Morrison at Random, because you rarely hear about that side of her career. So reading that, I'm reading Jujutsu Kaisen Modelo. If anybody's on the Shonen Jump app, reading that, that's pretty cool. It's so terrible. Reading the Absolute series. So I'm reading the Batman's Wonder Woman, and I started. Oh, you're yelling, cat. I'm glad everywhere. He gladly will scream hi back at you. Reading the Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman, and I'm starting Absolute Superman. And then I just read Meet Me at the Crossroads by Megan Giddings. It's like a sci-fi fantasy book, and it's really good, and you all should read it. And yeah, I read like 6 things at a time. Oh, I'm also reading Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's
yes,
audio.
mood readers unite, because yes.
My brother got me into them, and it's amazing. And I can't explain it, or else I sound like a toddler who's drunk.
No, that's totally fair. I feel like it's big enough where if you're in the bookish space at all, you've at least heard of it and know that it's like doing the rounds. So yeah, I get it.
I highly recommend the audiobook, like while you're working or doing chores or trying to ignore your yelling cat.
Trying to ignore your yelling cat.
Right?
Am I the only one who's like picturing lying cat every time they say yelling cat? Like, I just really want to see the cat now.
Apollo. Oh, here he is. Child, come. Big lion boy. This is Apollo. He's very stressed because he's on my shoulder.
He looks stressed.
You're going to get yelled at. This is why he yells. Oh, and then his sister, the Chunky. This is Chunky. I know.
Oh.
She's very cute. And they're both 14. Elderly babies.
Oh, geez.
All right. Come on. All right. Yes, those are my children.
Yay, we got to meet the kids.
Right? First visit, we special.
Like, okay, we got the light beat and we met the kids. We cousins
the light beat, and we turned on the overhead lighting. So, family now. Welcome.
Yes, cousins. Yes. So if y'all haven't already, run and go cop that. Make sure you support them right now, so that way we can have them back sooner when the next thing comes out. Put those good vibes out into the universe. They mentioned that you can get it from your library, and we're going to shout out Sister Sci-Fi, because that's where we like to tell people to run and go cop Megascope titles. Black woman owned online bookstore who supports us, so we support them. Thank you so much for coming through. We can't wait to have you back. And we will see you next time.
Of course, if you guys ever want me to come back to talk about editing or anything, hit me up.
We are going to hold you to that.
Yes, we are.
Call me. You got my email.
Yeah.
All right. Just stay in the back for a little bit, and everybody with a body, Jazmine Joyner.
Thank you.
Later.
Bye.
Yay!
Oh man.
Such a great show.
Yeah.
Iconic guests. Crazy conversations. We had a couple of different tie-ins for things. Like the
Yes.
hurricane tie-in is crazy. It's
Hurricane.
wild how every time we do this, there's some thing that like
Connected.
links
Yeah.
them together, and I love that for us because we did not plan that, but it keeps happening and I'm here for it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming through and coming through and supporting the Pink Riot Comic Show. If you haven't already, like, share, follow, comment, subscribe Pink Riot Comic Show on all US platforms. If you liked this episode, then scroll up or scroll down and check out another episode. You know, we're funny, we be having guests, we be talking shit. It's a good time. Check us out. If you watch it, great. We would love to have you engage and leave comments and give us a thumbs up and a follow and a subscribe and tell a friend to check it out. You know, little anecdotes and whatnot. If you're not watching it, that's perfectly fine. You know, put it on play all and let those things run in the background because a stream is a stream and those really do help us. If you're not able to watch it and listening is more your bag, skedaddle on over to Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts and you will likely find that we over there because we's a podcast now. It's a vibe, okay? If you want to have say in what's going on and get the inside scoop on what we're doing, what we're up to, what we're reading, all of the things, then make sure you check out our Patreon. We do have a free tier, and then there are several paid tiers, and the higher up in the paid tiers you go, the more influence and access you have to us and what we're doing with Pink Riot. We love y'all over there. If you are already subscribed to the Patreon and you haven't been looking at your messages, you probably missing out. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna do it, we're trying to love you over there. Let us love you over there. And if you like the vibes and the stylish Pink Riot hoodie that Keisha is currently rocking, then skedaddle on over there and check out our merch. We just did some cool things to improve the merch in several different ways, and we're going to be cycling in some new designs, and we haven't decided if that means we're going to be cycling out some of the older ones. So if you don't want to miss out on the designs that we have up right now, make sure that you run and go cop that. It comes in so many colors, even though you guys typically see us in the pink, black, gray. So many colors. Run and go cop that. Support us. If you post yourself in our merch and tag us, we will repost you because we love to see it in these internet streets. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much for coming through. If you liked the live vibes and you want to keep participating, just know we're going to be here at the same damn place at the same damn time because we don't take no weeks off because we love you and we love what we do. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Later.
I definitely found more. All right, how many variants are there?
11.
Damn. Go ahead. No.